Good morning, everybody. It is Friday. Friday. Well, I wanted to close out the week with what's the best way to say this? A rebuttal. I want to rebut some folks here, because I think a lot of you people out there, especially I'm noticing now with the Tony Evans situation, that there are still quite a remarkable amount of people out there that hold these men, humans, in such high regard that they're willing to do exactly what they say I was doing to me because they don't hold me in high regard. And they don't call it judging, they call it discernment. When they do it, they are discerning. When I speak about somebody, I'm judging. So I want to talk about judging because many people, as I said, feel free to do it as long as they call it something else. They don't mind doing it. They just want you to identify it as something that will favor them as being the moral police, if you will. So we're going to look at first some statements um, from the book first, and then and then we'll look at some statements from people. Um, and yes, this is a podcast today about judging. So we are going to read first from Matthew. Okay, this is Matthew chapter 7. This is what they like to quote: "Judge not, that you not be judged." And they stop right there. That's exactly where they stop when they tell you not to judge. However, everybody knows that you also read further along than just the first line. And if you read past the first line, you will see what criteria is for the judging if you do judge. For with what judgment you judge, you will be judged. And with the measure you use, it will be measured back to you. And why do you look at the speck in your brother's eye, but do not consider the plank in your own eye? Or how can you say to your brother, let me remove the speck from your eye, and look, a plank is in your own eye? Hypocrite, first remove the plank from your own eye, and then you will clearly see to remove the speck from your brother's eye. Question: does that mean you cannot judge your brother? I think it's a legit question. Does that verse say you cannot judge and ought not to judge your brother? Or does it say that if you do judge them, understand that you will be judged the same way? So, in other words, if you are fine with the judgment and the way you extend your judgment to someone else coming back to you, and you've already dealt with the plank in your own eye, you can indeed judge your brother biblically. Biblically. So we are going to um, use that passage. Okay. We're going to use that passage to encapsulate some things that came up. Okay. So the first one we're going to look at is I took a few screenshots, and I think most of you remember the Tony Evans video, at least those of you who listened. And I have a question to pose. Did I judge Tony Evans? Anyone? Did I judge Tony Evans? If you remember me saying anything along the lines of judgment, please let me know, because I don't recall judging. I remember speculating on what it could have possibly been, but I don't recall judging. So we are going to explore the comment section real quick, and we'll see. Pick number one. It may be difficult for you to read, but I'll try and zoom in as much as I can. All right. This is what it says. And remember, I played a video for you where he was talking about systematic and racism and what he's, his thought process about it is, right? Um, and ironically, not really ironically, the amount of people that had problems with what I was saying, ironically look like me. But it's not ironic because they're going to back the person that they emotionally attach themselves to. And Tony did a good job of emotionally attaching people with victimhood mindset. Just the truth. If you hear something that you want to believe, you will hook onto it and say, that's true. It may not be true, but you see it as true because you want it to be true. Because trust and believe me, if I were to attempt to even try to dismantle systemic racism in a conversation, it wouldn't be more than a minute and a half that I would take to do it. It wouldn't take me more than a minute and a half to debunk half the crap that people say about that stuff. It wouldn't take me more than half a minute. So I'd right off the top, his entire theory about it is lying. And if you're lying and a preacher, see what I'm saying? So let's go forward. I think your point about Dr. Evans and race is totally missing the point. Not I'm wrong, I'm missing the point. I get the sense that you are gloating just a bit, sir. He is human, and all of us. So hold on. I get the sense that you are gloating. He is human, all of us fall short. But you're willing to point out my gloating, that's my falling short. You have no problem pointing that out. But him, I ought not to. Huh? Huh? You just finished saying that I am gloating, and then you turn around and say he is human, and all of us fall short, and it's only by grace of God. Instead of showing his character, I believe you are showing more of yours. But if we are all falling short, then why are you pointing out mine? Aren't you doing the exact same thing you tell me I'm doing to Tony? But don't tell me it's okay when you do it, just not when I do it. Because I'm not Tony. I'm not Tony though. That's the big difference. I'm not in high standard. Okay. I'm not in great demand. I don't have 900,000 people listening to me. I don't have a pulpit to speak. That's the difference, right? I get you. I hear you. And so I say, is this you judging me? No, just the discerning. No, no. When I do it, I'm discerning. You see, that's the difference. You- You're judging Tony, but but I'm discerning you. I'm discerning. That's great. Hey, good to know you're discerning. We don't know what happened, and if there's more to the story, it will be revealed. Pray instead of gossiping, which is a sin also. You podcasters have agendas, likes, and shares so that you can make money off others and circumstances. So that's judging. That's not discerning because you don't know. Remember, you don't know what I'm making. You also don't know what sells. But for some reason, you can make the judgment that I'm doing it for likes, shares, and money. Now you state it. Okay, you state it. Then you say, if I'm wrong about you, please accept my apologies. But if you are gloating, be careful. You already made the assessment that I'm gloating. And now you're asking me to clarify it for you. So you can judge, and the truth will come out when it comes to Tony, but not for me. Never answered the question of where I was gossiping either. So um, I kind of find that kind of odd. But trust me, that's not the craziest one. That's not the craziest one. at all. So let's watch this one. This is another good one. Let's see if I can get this to fit properly here. There we go. Bring this a little smaller. Good. All right. Let's read this one. Instead, oh no, I can understand where you're all coming from, but I pose a question to all of you. If this platform or other social media outlets were not in existence, how would you have then handled confronting the situation? Well, I can easily answer you that. Um, we would talk amongst each other off screen. Yeah, there's a world out there apart from podcasting. And how things used to happen before was people used to pick up the phone and call. Some people would go over to people's houses and have discussions. So the conversation would still happen, just not to the magnitude of internet. What kind of an interesting question that you pose there? Like you forget people talk to each other. You didn't know that? You didn't know that people have conversations with each other? There used to be a time we used to have dinners together too. Um, it's kind of weird, but it used to happen. I know that some people are adverse to hanging out with people, but that's what we used to do. It used to be a thing. Used to be a thing. See how easy that answer was? Here's another one. What he taught on was backed up with the word. Really? Can you tell me where in the word it said that we ought to consider the race of a person, the history of that race when trying to talk about the Bible? Can you tell me anywhere in the book that that's an emphasis that preachers should have? Can you point that to me, please? Can't find it? Me neither. I worshiped God. I worshiped God and Christ, but I got knowledge of God's word from Tony Evans. And he broke it down to simple understanding through a story that kept your attention. Bottom line, read the book of James on passing judgment, in which it's God's job, not ours. I'm glad you brought that up because you know what I'm going to go to is James. Don't worry, I have that verse ready for you there, feel effect. We will go to James. Don't you worry about that. All those without sin cast the first stone. And again, you like to clump these little conversations that happen in the Bible to your benefit, but they're not to your benefit, in case you don't realize. Because you know what Jesus did right after that? Called out her sin. Odd. Now, did he say that they were wrong? No, they were right in their assessment of her. And if you don't forgive others, God won't forgive you. What am I forgiving him for? What forgiveness are you talking about? I'm just supposed to forgive something I don't know? Did he wrong me? No. He ain't wronging me. He's not even telling you what he did wrong, but I'm supposed to forgive what? What am I forgiving? Just any random thing? Nah, fam. God won't forgive you. I know they are set to a higher standard, but let me see you walk on water like Jesus did. What? What does that even mean? I know they're called to a higher standard, but let me see you walk on water like Jesus did. And then followed by this other person, Susan. All have sins and come short. David took another man's wife and got her pregnant, killed her husband to hide sins, yet he was a man after God's own heart. Let me see if I can get this right here. So you're looking at this as though that's normal and you can still call it God's own heart. David didn't confess his sins until he was called out. Stop speculating and assuming the Lord says who can cast the first, I'm assuming stone is what you mean. You see, the problem with your statement is this, Susan. You're comparing Tony to David, right? So let me ask a very important question of you, Susan. Who's Samuel? Who is Samuel? Just a question for you there, Susan. Who is Samuel? What did Samuel do? What did he do? I forget now. He did something. What was that thing? Y'all remember what did Samuel do? Maybe I'm confused. Maybe I'm confused. Maybe y'all can help me out here. Anybody? Can you tell me? Because I seem to recall his name being brought up in that conversation with David. I seem to recall that, but I forgot what it was he did. What did he do? Huh. What did he do? What did he do? What did he do? Oh, that's right. That's right. Yeah, that's right. Kind of odd, isn't it? What would you consider Samuel judging? Was Samuel judging him? I'm just questioning. Was Samuel judging David? Huh. Anyway, maybe you don't know what judging is. Maybe you don't know. And here is the one that took the cake, ate the cake, left the kitchen dirty, and came back. All right. This is the one that took the cake for me. I have seen some crazy statements in my time, but this one was really good. I don't care what Tony did. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care what Tony did. Tony changed my life. Tony changed his life. I was living a sinister life and he introduced me to Jesus and I never turned back to that lifestyle again. If it matters, here it comes. This is how I know they've made that man who he is because of what he says about race. Here it is. If it matters, I'm an old white male man. Tony helped me tame my tongue. Thank you, Tony, and God, lowercase g, bless you. Okay. All right. So let's address judgment the way James addresses it, shall we? Since he says to go to James, let's go to James. Let's go to James. Where do wars and fights come from among you? Do they not come from your desires for pleasure that war in your members? You lust and you do not have, you murder and covet and cannot obtain, you fight and war, yet you do not have because you do not ask. You ask and do not receive because you ask amiss, that you may spend it on your pleasures. Adulterers and adulteresses, do you not know that friendship with the world is enmity with God? Whoever therefore wants to be a friend of the world makes himself an enemy of God. Or do you not think the scriptures say it in vain? The Spirit who dwells in us yearns jealously. Now, the reason I'm reading from the very beginning is because people like the guy before does not. They get thrown into the one passage that the preacher says, go to this verse, and he'll preach an entire message on one verse and ignore all of the context. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to read the whole context. So now you know what the conversation is about. Perfect. But he gives more grace. Therefore, he says, God resists the proud, but gives grace to the humble. Therefore, oh, hold on. Doesn't a therefore in a sentence means that I'm going to expound on what I just said and give you an example or at least put it into context? Does that therefore mean that? Okay, good. Good. I'm glad that's the case. Therefore, submit to God. Resist the devil, and he will flee from you. Draw near to God, and he will draw near to you. Cleanse your hands, you sinners, and purify your hearts, you double minded. Lament and mourn and weep. Let your laughter be turned into mourning, and your joy to gloom. Humble yourself in the sight of the Lord, and he will lift you up. Do not speak evil of one another, brethren. He who speaks evil of a brother and judges his brother speaks evil of the law and judges the law. But if you judge the law, you are not a doer of the law, but a judge. There is one lawgiver who is able to save and to destroy. Who are you to judge another? I'm assuming that's where he's talking about. Come now, you who say, today or tomorrow we will go to such and such a city, spend a year there, buy and sell and make profit, whereas you do not know what will happen tomorrow. For what is your life? It is a vapor that appears for a time and then vanishes away. Instead, you ought to say, if it the Lord's will, we shall live and do this or that, but not boast in your arrogance. All such boasting is evil. Therefore, to him who knows to do good and does not do it, to him it is sin. So let's go up to his speak no evil of another. If I come forward and tell you I have sinned, and I do not tell you what the sin is, do you have the right to speak to me about that sin? Yes. Because there are sins that will not allow you and permit you back into the presence of the brethren. There are. So just saying I sinned is not sufficient enough, which is what Tony did. I said, okay, good. How? Won't tell you all that. But it's big enough for me to step away from ministry. After 40 years, it's big enough. This particular sin, hear me out, is big enough for me to have to step away from ministry. Now, if someone speaks about the sin that you refuse to tell them, am I speaking evil of you? No. Am I saying that you 100% did whatever sin I think you may have done? No. Nor did I say I was 100% sure that he did anything. But the fact that you won't tell anybody, but it was big enough for you to step away from ministry, is a very big red flag. A very big red flag. Now, I'm not the one holding him against a judge in judgments against the law. He is. He said he is stepping away because of sin. I'm not judging him at all. My judging would have been is I feel Tony did something wrong. He should step down. That would be judging. That would be judging. Tony came forward, did not discern enough to tell people what the sin was, spoke about it, say he's stepping away from ministry after years of it happening, doesn't say anything else. And I'm supposed to just be like, who cares? I'm supposed to, really? I'm just trying to figure this out. I'm just trying to figure it out. There are some crazy things here that are occurring, and I'll tell you one of the biggest ones. There are things that go on in the body that people refuse to talk about. And we have been told over and over and over we don't need to know. That's what we keep getting told. We don't need to know. But these are the people that we say are going to be put in front of us as leaders. And we're not supposed to say anything. We're supposed to be silent. You want to know how the body got to this position right now where we can't even decipher who is real and who's not? It's because we've taken everything in as okay. We've taken everything as okay. If Tony was in a position where he was just a congregant, I can see where this might not be a problem. But he is in a different position where he calls himself a preacher, pastor. Therein lies the bigger problem. Ephesians 5. For you were once darkness, but now you are light in the Lord. Walk as children of light. For the fruit of the Spirit is in all goodness, righteousness, and truth, finding out what is acceptable to God, and have no fellowship with the unfruitful works of darkness, but rather, expose them. For it is shameful to even speak of these things done, which are done by them in secret. But all things that are exposed are made manifest by the light, and whatever makes manifest is light. How is it that asking to be fully in the light is a problem? How is that a problem? How is that judging? I'm not supposed to execute critical thinking when somebody comes and says something as crazy as sins were done in the past. It's not anything that I did was illegal, but it was poor judgment. This was years ago, and now I'm stepping down. Here's my bigger question. If you're a preacher, at the time that you did this supposed sin, why didn't you step down then? How is it that you were able to continue preaching if you knew that this thing happened years ago? Why was he allowed to be a preacher still if it's so egregious now that he has to step down now? After, years after. I'm just supposed to take that as, oh, don't worry about it. Maybe now he preached for years, not months, not weeks, years after a sin that pulled him from preaching was committed. And I'm supposed to just be like, stop judging him. No. I'm going to ask the questions. I'm going to ask the questions. And if you want to call it judging, call it judging. I do not care. Call me arrogant, call me boastful, whatever you want to ascribe to me, just because I'm asking the question that you're too stupid to not ask. That's not my problem. Just because you're stuck on somebody's celebrity does not mean I am. I'm going to ask the obvious question. How you, as a teacher, preacher, whatever you call yourself, you put yourself in a leadership position amongst the congregation. You know the sin took place and you still continued to preach at the behest and in the knowledge of the people that you crossed. I'm just about, nah, no, no, no. That's not how this works. That's not how this works at all. It is not how this works. My brethren, let not many of you become teachers, knowing that we shall receive a stricter judgment. For we all stumble in many things. If anyone does not stumble in word, he is a perfect man, also able to bridle his whole body. Indeed, we put bits in horses' mouths that they may obey us, and we turn the whole body. Look at the ships. They also have large, are driven by fierce winds. They are turned by a very small rudder whenever the pilot desires. Even so, the tongue is a little member that boasts great things. See how great a forest a little fire kindles. His words were, I sinned and I'm stepping down. Not I sinned yesterday, I sinned the day before. I sinned years ago, and now I'm stepping down. If y'all won't ask the question, don't tell me I ought not to. I never claimed to be a teacher, never claimed to be a preacher. Nope, I'm not any of those things. I read, I have a podcast where I speak about what I read. Everyone should be doing that. Maybe not on a podcast, but everyone should be speaking about what they've known, they've lived. But if you're going to call yourself a pastor, you're going to call yourself a teacher, a preacher, you are under stricter judgment just by the title that you gave yourself. So don't get mad when people scrutinize the life you live when you've told the people that you are held to a higher standard. Because to be held by a higher standard means more scrutiny, not less, more. If you're in that spotlight, your life needs to be under a microscope. You put yourself there. Some of y'all don't even wait for God to put you in there. You decide, I'm going to be a preacher. But then when something hits the fan, we ain't supposed to say nothing because, you know what? That's God's anointed. And it's not even what the statement was about. And I know there are going to be more coming in. You just don't know. You need to stop. Then stop watching. Don't watch somebody judgmental. If you are not willing to look at people the way you're supposed to, don't blame me for your stupidity. That's on you. You want to follow man? Follow man. You want to give them all the rights that God has? Go ahead. Do what you got to do. But when you do it, it's discernment. When other people do that you don't like, then it's judgment. Especially if it's to one of your idols, it's definitely judgment then. Or did you not remember judgment start? Let me misquote like you guys like to do. Judgment starts in the house of the Lord. You're gonna say then, that's not what that means. That means at the end of time. Anything to take the blame off of what you're doing to put it on somebody else is what you'll do. Trust me, I know all the arguments you're gonna come with. I know every last one of them. But you're still not gonna answer the question. Why did it take years to address a sin that could remove you from the pulpit? Why? And why would you need to state that it was not illegal? I'm simply asking you to look at what was said. I am not judging him at all. I am speculating on what he said. And I have the all rights to do that. First, I have the right because he's dealing with somebody that I have given my life to. Secondly, because this is America and I can indeed talk about whatever I want to talk about. It really is that simple. I know it's probably hard for people to swallow. Leave him alone. He's done this for 40 years. This is the only scandal. So, how many scandals does it take? Just 5, 10, 12? I don't know what he did. But don't look at me and tell me I have to just take what he says and be like, oh, it's okay. Whatever he did is all good. No, no, I will not do that. I have a thinking brain. It's working just fine. I can critically break things down. I can look at a situation and I can indeed speculate. And I will. I will speculate. If you don't want to and you want to park your brain, park it. Throw away the keys, siphon out all the gas, slash the tires so your brain doesn't move again. Do that. Feel free. But don't then get in the car and get mad when the car doesn't start because it can't go anywhere. And if you do, by some magical fluke, get it started, you can't drive because the wheels are busted. Don't get mad. You wanted to park your brain. I'm not parking. I am not parking. I'm just not. I'm going to read again his statement as well as the body of leaders, what they said. This is the article. You know what? In fact, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to bring it up. I'm going to bring it up because I think it is very, very vital that we talk about this finally. This is not a name clearing thing. This is a clarification for all concerned. Tony Evans, a longtime leader of a Dallas megachurch and best-selling author, you see how to describe him, Laura, just so you know, has announced that he is stepping back from his ministry due to sin he committed years ago. The foundation of our ministry has always been our commitment to the Word of God as the absolute supreme standard of truth to which we are to conform our lives, Evans said in a June 9 statement. We all fall short. This is what you call a prerequisite for my behavior. I'm going to blanket my behavior with everybody else's so that I seem more human. But when you do find out, it's not that big a blow. Where David didn't say that, did he? No. David said, this sin is mine and mine alone. I'm sin against you and you alone. That is all I'm concerned about. I'm not going to lump everybody else into it. Well, everybody does the sin and it's not that big a deal. Look, everybody sins. That's not what David did. David took personal accountability. David took personal accountability. He did not get up in front of anybody and said, we all fall short. No, fam, this was you. We talking about you. You alone. We ain't talking about everybody. We talking about you. We are talking about you, Tony. You. Not the congregation, not the senior pastor, not the bishop, not the elder, not the janitor. You. Talk about you. Don't lump everybody in with this. We're not talking about everybody. But this is a technique that they will use to try and help everybody identify with them to lessen the blowback. That's all this is. We all fall short of that standard due to sin. We are required to repent and restore our relationship with God. I fully agree. A number of years ago, I fell short of that standard. Hang on, Tony. Hang on, Tony. You knew the Bible for 40 something years now. You've said you've known the Bible to the point where you preach it, right? Good. You said a number of years ago, you didn't know the day after, you didn't know the following week, you didn't know the following month, you didn't know 2 months later, you didn't know 3 months later, a year later, a year and a half later. A number of years ago. Therefore, I am required to apply the same biblical standard of repentance and restoration to myself that I have applied to others. But you didn't, though. The question now remains, why now? Why after a number of years? And why step down? Why not just confess and continue? Evans 74 was not specific about his actions, but said they were not criminal. While I have committed no crime, you are talking about stepping down from ministry. Why would you even remotely say anything about crime? It's a sin. You just sinned. The sin is relegated to the body. Why would you need to say, while what I did was not a crime, I did not use righteous judgment in my actions? In light of this, I'm stepping away from my pastoral duties and I'm submitting to a healing and restoration process established by the elders. Evans, the founder of the Christian Bible teaching ministry, The Urban Alternative, has led the congregation for more than 40 years and has a radio broadcast, The Alternative with Tony Evans, that has carried on hundreds of radio outlets across the globe. The difficult decision was made after tremendous prayer and multiple meetings with Dr. Evans and the church elders. The elder board is obligated to govern the church in accordance with the scripture. Dr. Evans and the elders agree that when any elder or pastor falls short of the high standard of scripture, the elders are responsible for providing accountability and maintaining integrity in the church. I'm supposed to not guess. I'm supposed to not speculate. I'm supposed to not ask. I'm supposed to just take. I'm just supposed to just take it. Look, I commend the man for stepping down, and I said that on Wednesday. I told you, at least he stepped down. I said that multiple times. I even said he did better than T.D. Jakes, who was blatantly caught in an exact actual sin. I even gave the man kudos for that. But I'm judging him. I have the right, the positioning, the obligation, especially when it looks a little bit fishy, to speculate. This is speculation on my part because he will not be forthcoming. And it took him several years while still preaching to admit to something that he is now saying is worthy of him stepping away from preaching. That's the part I want people to understand. He did a sin big enough that he's not willing to say what it is, but it is big enough for him to be no longer able to preach. Let that sink in. And if it is that big, why didn't that, if he's so versed in the book and the elders are so close knit and they're so concerned about the body, why did it take several years for this to come forward. That is my problem with the whole situation. I'm not supposed to think. Well, y'all who don't want to think, don't think. Don't think. I'm going to think, though. I'll think. I will take my intuition, weigh it against the word, and realize for myself that one thing is very vital here. A man who claimed to be a preacher for 40 years, who says he knows the word, continued in a sin that would have removed him from his office for several years and only recently decided to step down. You know what else he could have done? He could have just retired. He could have just said, my time is up. I've run the race. I've done what I had to do. It's time for me to hand off the mantle and deal with his sin with God. He could have done that. He didn't do that. You don't find that kind of weird? You could have easily just walked away from it and never, ever spoken about it. But you decided to come to the public forum, blasted across the internet, that a sin unspoken of was enough to remove you from the ministry, but you don't want nobody asking you what it was. You created the spectacle, bro. You look, we didn't want to talk about you, but you made yourself the topic. You put your stuff out there. You did that, not us. We didn't ask for your information. You could have easily just ridden off into the sunset and be done, bro. But you didn't do that. You didn't do that. So I'll continue asking. I'll continue. And for those of you saying, well, you must have some secret sin too. You know what I won't be doing? Is bringing my secret sin to anybody but God and having him deal with it. Because I didn't sin against none of y'all. If I sinned, I would sin against God and maybe my wife, maybe my kids, maybe the people that are around me, but not the people in La La Land. I don't sin against you. Which is why I'm not going to bring it to you unless it affects you. When it does affect you, I say, y'all can go back through all of my content and you'll find it. You'll find it. I have not, I'll ask right now, everybody in the comment section, have I not been transparent with who I am and was? Have I not been? In fact, have I been overly transparent with you? That's my question. Have I been overly transparent with you? You want to find me? Look through all of my content and it'll tell you everything about me. I say it. I say it. You don't have to speculate. I will tell you if I was a POS. I will tell you that straight up. All I know is this. If he hadn't said anything, we wouldn't be asking for more information. And if he had just been forthcoming with it years ago, there would be no problem. But he didn't, and he wasn't. And you stepped down. I believe you stepped down because you're trying to get ahead of something that would eventually have taken you out of the ministry anyway. That's just my belief. You're getting ahead of something because you don't want to have to deal with it when you're in the pulpit if it does come out, because the person may be saying something. I don't know. I'm speculating because you won't say. But I have no doubt that when he does, or the information does come out, you'll see everybody on his side saying, he's so brave for telling his truth. Continue to pray for him. Not why did you deceive us for so many years, knowing this is what you were doing, and you didn't say, you're not gonna say that. No, I'm not gonna say that. Just pray for him. All right. You don't even know what you're praying for, but you're praying for him. That's amazing. You all just like these blanket prayers, huh? Just weird. In any case, even if I'm doing this for the likes and the shares and the money, this is a job. I do tons of things for like, shares, and money. This is my job. I'm not a preacher. I'm not a teacher. I'm a podcaster, right? Like you guys say, I'm a podcaster. I podcast. But judging? Nope. I'm not judging a soul. I'm weighing them against what they say they follow. Simply weighing them against what they say they follow. Judging would not know at all what they follow and assuming something and then making my own assessment. That would be judging. That would be judging. I am simply holding him to the standard he says he holds himself to. And I see some problems. I'm just calling it out. I keep telling people, if you see the standard being dropped by me, tell me. Make a video, put it in the chat. I keep asking for examples. None of y'all will give it to me. Until you do, I'm going to keep doing what I do. In either case, we'll be back on Monday. You say that, then you get mad. I get mad how? What exactly do you mean? Name one time someone has brought facts about me to my face and I got mad. Name one time. I will wait for you to name one time somebody has rebutted what I said with factual stuff that I cannot deny and I got mad. Name one time. I'll wait for that one. Name one time. Go ahead. I'll wait. I was wrong about Bryson. I was wrong about Bryson. He lied. He is a blatant liar. How am I wrong about Bryson? I showed him what he said. I played his own words to him. He lied. How exactly did I? What? The man's a liar. He's a straight up goof. He lies. It was right there in his own words. He lied. He didn't rebut a single thing. He didn't bring anything to the table that I was lying. Not one time. I proved 3 different times that this man was lying. But I'm the problem? I'm the problem. Wow. Don't tell me you're a fangirl, huh? You love his music. You fangirling over him. Well, go listen to Bryson. Why are you here? Why are you here? Mentioning his name when you can't back anything up. I don't see how. Unfortunately for you, D-Ray, you can't tell me to shut up, and I will not shut up. How you gonna shut me up? Huh, D-Ray? How you gonna shut me up? How you gonna shut me up? How? Please tell me how you gonna shut me up. I want to know how you think you can tell me to shut up and you think it don't work. You think about because you're a male and you come on here thinking you can bluster up and say, you better shut up. You think that's going to shut me up? You think that's how that works? I don't think you understand the internet yet, bro. One, I don't think you understand the internet. And two, you don't understand me. I think the bigger one is you don't understand me. So let me get this through to you carefully. I know that your two brain cells that you have barely rubbing together. I'll help you out. You nor nobody gonna shut me up. Not a soul gonna shut me up. Keep trying though. It's not gonna shut me up. I don't care what you beg, scream, get mad, rage. It ain't gonna happen. I'm not shutting up. Try again though. Keep trying. And stay mad. Be mad. Stay mad. I ain't stopping. I ain't stopping. Too bad though. It's all good though. It's all good. Because what it tells me, what it's showing, this is what it's showing me. It's showing me that you guys will always revert to holding man above God. You will. You'll continue to defend man over the will of God every time. You'll revere them and hold them. Yes, this is my guy. Man. Well, y'all have at it, man. Have at it. Yeah, I ain't trying to stop y'all from doing your thing. Do your thing. Do your thing. I don't know why you show up here just to argue. Just go listen to Tony. Never disputed that God is greater than Merlin. I don't know who Merlin is, but I know God is greater than Merlin. And okay, so let me clarify something for you, Selma. God is greater than THANUMARLON. God is greater than you, Marlon. That's how you would write it if you would take your time and drop the emotions for a second. And secondly, I know. I know God is greater than me. That's an obvious statement. I think I've said that billions of times on this channel. I don't know if you're trying to think. I don't care if you're British. If you're British and that's how you spell, you're doing a very big disservice to being British. The British don't say then you. You cannot pass bad spelling and poor grammar off on being British. That's the last thing you're going to do. You can tell me you were American. I'd believe that you have poor English. But a British person? Nah. You know how I know? Because I grew up in the British education system. I know you ain't trying to blame the British education system for your stupidity. That would be, what? You high? The Queen's English? Please. Woman, just say you didn't finish, just say you didn't graduate. Just say you didn't finish high school, you didn't finish kindergarten, and English is a problem for you. Being British is not one of them. You got 99 problems, and being British ain't one. Trust me, don't blame the British for that. You just not smart enough to write properly. That's not me judging. That's me assessing what you wrote. You are a rapper. If you're a statement, if it's a question, are you a rapper? Again, if it's difficult for you, Kapoor, Yom Kippur, then don't use it. Use your native language. Use your native language, which is what? Short bus. Use the short bus language. Crazy people, bro. In any case, we'll be back on Monday. She's using the Queen's Ebonics. He says she's using the Queen Ebonics. If the Queen of England was black and from the south side of Chicago. Yeah, I know it's the King's English now, but I don't know how much longer he gonna last though. I'm just saying. he got that cancer thing going on. He about to pop off too. And he don't talk to his kids, so I don't even know how that's gonna work. So it's kind of weird. In either case, we'll be back on Monday. Don't forget, Savage Patriots will be on today at 6:30 Eastern, and we will be talking about the N-word girl. Y'all heard about her, right? She went famous and viral for saying broke a N-word. Yeah. So we're gonna talk about the merits of whether or not she was okay to say it because of the culture we're in, or she should just have shut up and not said it, even though she's being inundated with it every day. So we'll talk about that, and then possibly, Too Strong Tonight, possibly. Don't hold me to that. But the Rumble event will be on tomorrow as well. Okay, Rumble on tomorrow, and then we'll have our Bible study on Sunday night. Okay, cool. Yeah, hey, I hear you. I'll have to do you see, I've been wanting to, and I'm glad you're in here for that. I've been wanting to tackle their role in the end times and tie them in, because I have a tie-in, and I think that'd be a good discussion to have. Anyway, we'll be back on Savage Patriots later today, and I'll catch you guys then. It is now a month and 10 days before the event takes place here for the family seminar. So for those of you who are coming, I look forward to meeting you. Hopefully everything works out, that you can make your trips okay. There are tons of hotels in Wenatchee. You should not have a single problem finding a room to stay. Not a single problem. They have so many hotels here, it's not even funny. And they go all the way from really cheap to pretty expensive. So we have everything from a Motel 6 to a Holiday Inn Express that's like high end. So, if you guys do look for tickets and stuff like that, or hotel rooms, they're plentiful. You won't be shorted out of that. Remember to pack something for swimming, because we do have a river here that's a pretty nice river, where we're going to be on that Friday. So come prepared for that. Awesome. Good. So we'll catch you guys then. Wisdom calls to you from the street. So please find wisdom. Peace.
Hold tight the dreams, for if dreams die, rely on yourself in no way.